Well, good day, viewers. What do we have here? 1985 Porsche 944. It was towed in for a crank snow start condition. So we're going to get in and confirm the condition. See if we got any lights on the dash. Turn the key on. Got a battery light, oil light, but no check engine light. I don't hear the fuel pump run. Where's the fuel gauge? Oh, just under half a tank of gas. Now I would expect it to have a check engine light. It's fuel injected. I don't have a scanner that will talk to this. The Snap-on scanner doesn't support it till 96, doesn't support Porsche till 96. And of course it's going to be OBD1. So we're going to start with some basics. A visual inspection under the hood to start with. So this looks like an inline 4-cylinder. It has distributor ignition. And I see this coil wire is rubbed through on the headlight actuators here. If that's shorting to ground, that could take down the spark. It's electronic fuel injection, port fuel injection. It's our fuel line, fuel pressure test port. Not convenient anyways. That looks like the fuel pressure regulator there. Why is there two? Well, let's check for spark to start with. So I got an adjustable spark tester connected to number 1 spark plug wire, and I'm going to crank it and see if we have spark. I didn't hear any spark. I'll have to replay my video so I can tell. So now I've moved the spark tester to the coil wire going into the distributor cap. We'll see if we have spark there. I didn't hear any snapping either. Let me replay the video. So we're going to check for power to the positive side of the coil with the key in the run position. And if there is power there, then we're going to check the switch side of the coil, which is that one there, I would imagine, to see if it's being triggered. So I got the key on, and I'm touching the green post. We have power to the positive side of the coil, and we should have power to the negative side of the coil, provided the primary is not open. Yes, we do. And I'm assuming that the black wire is the control side. So I'm going to connect the test light between there and ground and see if we have a blinking test light while it's cranking. Okay, so we have no trigger. I wonder if we have a crank sensor problem or power to the computer. So I'm going to pop one of these injector connectors off. Maybe this one right here. It looks like it's probably the easiest one. And check for injector pulse. So I'm going to repeat this test at the number 2 injector. Let's see, one of these pins should be live. No power. Make sure my test light works. Yes, it does. No power. It's got a molded connector here, so I don't know which one is which. Well, I'm going to plug this Noid light in here, and we'll see if it flashes while cranking. Did I move something? That is weird. Now it's running. I didn't do anything. I unplugged an injector. I'm going to try starting it again with that injector unplugged. Obviously the black side of that coil is the hot side, because it's not flashing when it's cranking. So let's move this over to the other side of the coil, because this should have been blinking when it had spark. I assumed the green wire would be the live wire, but obviously it's not, because it should have been flashing. Let's try that again. Plug that injector back in again. I hate when things fix themselves. I hate when things fix themselves. You don't know what you did to fix it. It's interesting that there's no power to these injectors unless it's cranking or something. Let's see if it runs now and doesn't have a miss. That's a belt squeal going on here. I can hear the fuel pump running in the tank now that it's running. But it doesn't have a fuel pump prime. And there's no check engine light that I can see. So what was the cause of the problem? Well, when it wasn't firing, we had no spark. And I think I was on the wrong side of the coil. I went on the black wire, and I think that's the power wire, because it wasn't blinking. Even now it's flashing so fast that you can't even see it. You gotta turn the key off. I wonder if crank sensors are common to fail. And why doesn't this have a check engine light? Mind you, it is OBD1, and it wasn't mandatory to have one. I don't see a spot for one. So I read the 10th character as an F, and it's actually an E. So this is actually an 84. The owner's manual in the car says it's an 84 as well. Not that it makes any difference, because I think the 84, 85 is the same. I'm going to look at the wiring diagram. So here's the limited service information I have, basically out of a Haynes manual. Identifix doesn't have any wiring diagrams for this. I might ask them for them. So this is the digital motor electric control unit, and doesn't look very complicated. Now it says reference marks transmitter. I take that to be the crank sensor. The 2 wires would make it magnetic pulse generator. Airflow sensor, speed sensor. The computer supplies power to the injectors. Looks like these are the 4 injectors. So there's 2 power wires, one here and one here. So cylinder 1 and 2 are fed power on this circuit, and 2 and 3 and 4 on this circuit. And then there's, or maybe that's, well, this is it's non-sequential batch fire. So these 2 are in, this is common power supply here. So the power does come from the ECM. There is no check engine light illustrated in here. It's a pretty simple system. I don't even know whether it supports scanning. Maybe it's only flash codes. I'll have to find out. So I did some research last night on what could possibly be causing this intermittent no start condition, and it turns out there are 2 crank sensors. They live down at the back of the bell housing. In the top of the bell housing you can see the connectors here. The top one is the speed sensor, I believe, and the bottom connector is the reference sensor. Now why it needs 2 I don't know, but ask the Bosch engineers. So you can see the wiring harness runs down below the water valve there. And let me get a flashlight here. You can see one of the connectors right there, or not the connector, but the bolt holds it in place, and the other one is behind it. So these are original as far as I could tell. The top one still had this DG sticker on it. It fell off when I touched it, and you could see the sticker was on the bottom one too, but it's gone. So these reference sensors, which are magnetic pulse generators, are common to fail, as is the Dme relay, or the combination power relay fuel pump relay, which is under the dash. I'm going to see if it'll start today. I noticed when it was cranking the other day and it wasn't firing that there was no tach bounce. So it turns out this thing doesn't have a check engine light. Let's see if it'll actually start. Let's make sure it's in neutral. It doesn't have a clutch safety switch either. Well, obviously whatever was causing the problem fixed itself, because it starts perfect now. I think I'm going to recommend the Dme Relay. Because that's pretty easy to change. Dme/fuel pump relay. So there's the fuse and relay center, and it's relay number 2 on this picture here, which lives under the driver's side of the dash up there. And in the owner's manual, it calls relay number 2 the fuel pump relay, but it's the fuel pump relay, I believe, and also a power relay to the ECM. So we're going to remove that relay and see how the car acts. I'm curious to see whether the tach will still work with that relay removed. So there's the relay out. I marked it with an arrow pointing up so I know which way it goes, because it's hard to see the connections in there. It's like 2 relays in one, as you can see by the little road map on here. There's 2 control coils and 2 sets of contacts. So let's see what the car does now with that relay removed. Curious to see whether The tack still works. No, it does not. So I watched a video last night where somebody said if the relay was bad, the tack would still work, and it does not. So I think we're going to be proactive and change this relay. See if I can get a part number off of it. 896368. That's probably the original one. It's nearly 40 years old, so anything's possible.